Ever notice how people slowly disappear from your life, and one day you realize you didn't even try to stop it? No fight, no big fallout, just silence. Your phone doesn't light up anymore. Group chats go quiet. Birthdays pass without a single text. And the weirdest part, you're okay, not numb, not broken, just calm. So here's the real question, asterisk asterisk. Why does being alone feel safer than being close to people? Asterisk asterisk, why does silence feel peaceful instead of lonely? Why does distance feel like relief instead of loss? Because once you understand the answer to that question, you'll realize this isn't a story about hating people. It's a story about finally choosing yourself. There's a kind of silence nobody really talks about. Not the silence of an empty room, but the silence that comes after years of being surrounded by noise. The silence after you stop checking your phone every 5 minutes. After you stop explaining yourself. After you stop being the one who always reaches out first. You didn't wake up one day and decide to cut everyone off. It happened slowly. One unanswered text. One cancelled plan. One moment where you needed someone and nobody showed up. People think you became cold. They say you changed. Yeah, because the old version of you was exhausted. For years you were the reliable one. The one who always replied. The one who showed up, remembered birthdays, listened to problems, gave advice, gave time, gave energy. You were there for people at their lowest. But when your life started falling apart, when you finally needed support, silence. Maybe someone said, sorry you're going through that. Maybe someone said, let's talk soon, and never called. Maybe everyone was just busy. That moment changes something in you. Because that's when you realize you've always been alone. You just didn't want to admit it. So your brain starts doing math. How much energy am I giving? What am I actually getting back? Why does this feel so one-sided? And suddenly, the numbers don't make sense anymore. You weren't in friendships. You were in emotional contracts and you were the only one paying. So you stopped, not dramatically, not angrily. You just stopped initiating, stopped over-explaining, stopped making yourself available to people who only showed up when it was convenient. And yet people noticed. They always do when the benefits stop. You're distant now. You're cold. You don't open up like you used to. What they really mean is, you don't give like you used to. They want the old you back. The version of you that said yes even when it hurt. The version that overextended. The version that put everyone first. They don't realize that version of you was slowly breaking. Your nervous system figured something out before your mind did. It learned a pattern. Every time you got close, every time you trusted, every time you showed up fully, you ended up alone with the pieces. The friend who disappeared when you got depressed. The partner who left when things got hard. The family that showed up for holidays but vanished during real crises. Your brain started seeing the ending before the story even finished. So you adapted. If everyone leaves eventually, you decided to control when it happens. Abandonment hurts less when you're the one who walks away first. People call that self-sabotage. You call it survival. This isn't loud. There's no big confrontation, no final speech. It's quieter than that. Texts you don't answer days turn into weeks, weeks into months. Invitations you decline until they stop coming. You move cities and don't tell anyone until you're already gone. You delete social media without an announcement, the slow fade, or sometimes the hard cut. Either way, you're gone. You run into someone you used to be close with. They ask how you've been, you say, good you. Small talk, surface level. Inside, you're thinking, we were never really close. We just shared space. You performed a version of yourself you thought people wanted. And when you stopped performing, there was nothing left. Here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud. You were already lonely in rooms full of people. Being physically alone just made the feeling match reality. Some people think you hate them. The truth is worse. You're indifferent. Hate takes energy. Caring enough to be angry means caring. You're past that. They want closure. They want explanations. They want the conversation where you tell them what they did wrong. But closure would mean explaining yourself to people who never listened in the first place. So you give them nothing. Let them create whatever story they need to sleep at night. You're not reading it. And here's the part that surprises you: it doesn't hurt the way you thought it would. Solo holidays, birthdays with no texts, handling emergencies alone. You expected pain, instead it feels quiet. And quiet becomes your favorite sound. This didn't start in adulthood. Somewhere in childhood, you learned that needing people was risky. Maybe a parent was physically present but emotionally absent. Maybe love came with conditions. Maybe asking for help meant being ignored, dismissed, or told you were too sensitive. So you stopped asking. You became independent not because you wanted to, but because you had to. Self-sufficient as survival, your brain learned: don't expect anything, don't need anyone, don't get too close. Every adult relationship just confirmed the lesson. Eventually they leave, eventually they disappoint. Eventually you're on your own, so when you cut people off, you're not cruel, you're consistent with what life taught you. People accuse you of being closed off, afraid of intimacy, like you haven't tried. Like you haven't been vulnerable over and over again, hoping the ending would change. It didn't. Same pattern, different people. So you stopped. Not because you're broken, but because you finally listened to yourself. Isolation isn't the opposite of connection for you. It's the absence of rejection. It's the one place you can't be abandoned. You can spot abandonment patterns instantly now. The friend who only texts when they need something. The person who's around for fun but disappears when life gets heavy. The relationship that feels like a transaction where you're always paying. You pull back quietly, stop initiating, stop trying. If they don't notice, that tells you everything. So you leave first, not angry, not bitter, just aware. People say you gave up on people. They're wrong. You gave up on pretending crumbs were a meal, on shrinking to be accepted, on performing emotional labor for relationships that only worked when you did all the work. You're not cold. You're done bleeding for people who never noticed you were wounded. The loneliest you ever felt wasn't after cutting everyone off. It was before, sitting in a room full of people and feeling invisible. Being in relationships and still feeling alone. Cutting everyone off didn't create loneliness. It ended the lie. You didn't run away. You ran toward peace, toward a life where your worth isn't measured by who stays or leaves. This isn't the absence of love. It's self-preservation. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not broken. You're protected. And maybe, just maybe, one day you'll let the right people in. But only the ones who show up without being begged. Until then, you choose quiet, and for the first time in your life, that quiet feels like freedom.